Hi everyone, it's Jerry. This is one of the most famous Endgame puzzles ever. It's one that has many stories surrounding it, and if that's of interest to you, I've included a couple links in the description to this video that not only show the puzzle solution, but again, it discusses the many stories surrounding it. But my focus here is to simply present the problem and show its solution. And in this puzzle, it's white to move. What is the best play? If you'd like to try and figure it out, now would be the time to pause the video. Okay, the solution to this puzzle is one that may very well give your computer difficulty with. In fact, posting this position on a computer may show that black is the side that's winning, but that's not the case. White is winning, and so let's see why. Ruling out a couple things. For starters, promoting to a queen is not good because we would just have a fork. White goes nowhere. Also, giving check leads to nothing after king g7 because now what? The knight can't move to give check. Of course, the bishop can't move to give check, and you still can't promote to a queen successfully because of the fork. And for the next turn, the bishop is always in a spot to, let's say, go to a5 and defend against that d8 square. In short, white will not be able to promote successfully. White will be not the side that's winning this position. So it's not the pawn promotion. It's not bishop c2 as the first move, but rather knight f6 check. And now the king is restricted in a great way. Going to h8 allows the pawn to actually promote successfully because it would come with check. So there's really only two options, g6 or g7. Let's first look at g6. g6 is met with bishop c2 check. If king takes knight, now we promote with check. If king f7, we once again promote because the knight now can't make use of f7. King g7 therefore, and now knight h5 with check. And what is the king to do? We know what happens if he goes to f7, and while going back to the 8th rank, we promote with check. So king to g6 does not provide the most resistance. King g7 therefore. But now comes knight h5 check, and king f7, okay, we know what happens, we promote. The only other two that we haven't really looked at, h7 and g6, you go to h7, bishop check, eventually the king is forced back, and then we promote with check. King g6, well, what do you do now? If bishop c2, the king grabs the knight, but that's actually what white allows black to do. The bishop makes use of c2, gives a check, and allows that king to take the knight. We have a serious material deficit, just a bishop and a couple pawns. Black has 3 minor pieces, 4 pawns, but black is completely busted. At this point, we promote to a queen, and this comes only after we have forced the king to the edge of the board. We get that queen, we allow for a fork to occur, and we don't even think about trying to recapture on that d8 square. King e6. Knight takes queen with check. King f5. The king is frozen. The bishop at this point needs to only get on this diagonal or this one, and it's going to be mate. And we have, for the most part, a forced sequence of moves. Before I show what that forced sequence of moves is, because it's going to lead to a mate in several moves, and there's nothing that black can do to prevent it. Before I get to that, what you'll find is that actually landing this fork at this point is not the strongest continuation for black. Maybe just trying to run around here is really just delaying the inevitable. Eventually, white will be the side that not only wins this e3 pawn, but likely this knight over here that's unprotected on a6. For example, queen to e8 is threatening that e3 pawn. If king f3, you could give a check. Eventually, the queen will be able to make use of e2. This pawn will fall, this knight will fall, etc. Not long after, that black king will fall. But my main focus will be to simply show what will occur after white allows black to actually land the fork on the king and queen. We do have king e6, the queen is taken, and after king f5, the main threat is to get on again, either one of these diagonals, and in this position, white is trying to get to that d1 square. It's prevented with pawn to e2, but the bishop is insisting, making use of a central square, trying to get to f3. That's shut down as well, in the only way that's possible, under promoting to a knight. The bishop now makes use of d5, another central square, and what we'll see is that as soon as that bishop makes use of that e4 square, it's essentially just zigzagging its way along the 4th and 5th ranks. And from this post right here on d5, it freezes both of these knights on d8 and e1. For if either one move, the bishop would make use of f7 or f3, whichever one will be undefended. And so what to do now, because the other idea that white has is to just go to c4 and then e2, and that's going to be game. That could be prevented for only a little bit with c2, bishop c4, and now c1, once again under promoting to a knight, just to cover the e2 square. We have 4 knights on the board, a bishop, a couple pawns, but they're no match, unfortunately, for the strong king position, a bishop, and just a mere pawn on g3. Bishop b5, trying to get on this diagonal. If the knight blocks, okay, you just take the knight. The other try is to just go to c7, where it attacks the bishop, and of course defends that e8 square. And now, again, just completing the little zigzag along the 4th and 5th ranks. After bishop a4, there's absolutely nothing for black to do about the bishop returning to the square that it started at on d1. What might follow is something like knight e2, but we just have bishop d1, knight f3, bishop takes knight. Pick your favorite move for black, it doesn't matter. Bishop takes knight, and that's game over. So that's all for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care.